When I first heard that this was another Half-Life improvement mod, I didn't think much of it. I played plenty of those. They're not bad, just more of the same, you know? But this one? This is the one. This mod went above and beyond any expectations I would have from a mod of this nature, and then some. Absolutely beautiful visuals, amazing attention to detail, and just overall one of the best Half-Life 1 mods I've ever had the chance of playing. So welcome, dear viewers, to Half-Life Extended. After many years of development, we finally got the Half-Life Extended demo. This demo has you playing the game from Hazard Course all the way to We've Got Hostiles. You might think that's not a whole lot, but it's actually very fleshed out and, pardon the pun, extended, that it takes quite a while to finish it. And no, this doesn't mean the game is padded to all hell. I was actually expecting that, but they somehow managed to increase the total length of each chapter without any of it feeling boring. So, one by one, let's take a look at each of these chapters and talk about all the nifty stuff I saw. The Hazard Course. If you've played the PS2 version of Half-Life 1, you'll immediately notice that it's been recreated here while the developers added in their own touches as well. Inside, you'll see a super detailed interior with NPCs that have multiple skins, and even new characters like this guy. He's basically a mix of the OPFOR security guard mixed with scientist clothing. The main thing to note is how much depth these hallways have now. In the OG game, the hallways are just long boxes with textures on four sides with maybe one or two props. Here, it oddly feels realistic, I guess, in a way. I especially loved this area where the scientist is giving us a briefing of the training course. There's so much tiny details to look at here.
Welcome to the Black Mesa Training Facility. Things are in a state of commotion this morning, but the training facility software should...
The rest of the Hazard Course is as expected, though there are points where I think they made new areas to supplement this whole chapter. The meat and potatoes start from the entrance of Sector C Labs. It's been overhauled to have these new areas on the sides and the top. The entrance itself has a security checkpoint where a guard comes in and opens the second gate. And when I saw the lobby, this scene hit me hard. Again, you can see the influence of that one scene from Half-Life 2 Episode 2 where G-Man is sitting in the lobby of Sector C, which on its own kind of retconned the way the original lab entrance looked like. I highly respect the developers' way of keeping the game so faithful to the source material.
Someone has hidden my glasses.
The lab now feels like an actual workplace, an actual science research facility. You got workstations, research rooms, science equipment, a black man, and scientists doing actual science stuff instead of just walking around. I also love how the kitchen looks now. Rather than some vending machines and a microwave, it's a proper kitchen area now. Same with the HEV suit room as well. Point is, this looks like the Black Mesa facility I always imagined in my mind when I used to play Half-Life as a kid. This is what I imagined these people would be doing here, and now seeing that childhood daydreaming come to life like this is remarkable. Also, big props for giving Eli and Kleiner unique face textures too. This part here had a nice implication. You notice how there's slots for 3 HEV suits and we pick up the last one left? It was kind of implied that the other two are worn by the protagonists of Decay, Gina Cross and Colette Green, but here it's shown that the other two scientists with us in the test chamber are wearing them, and it makes sense to be honest. Gordon's late to the experiment, the other two went ahead and started setting up the procedure while Gordon was on his way into the lab. It's a tiny detail, but it made me giddy when I realized it. This is the type of stuff that adds life to a game's world. And I already implied it, but I rather like that rather than these two just standing by the gate, they now are actually useful. Like, they're still the ones to open the gate and let us in, but they also have actual responsibilities now in this control room while we're in the test chamber. Speaking of the test chamber, it's been expanded to have multiple different areas in it, like walkways, equipment, computers, and a lift. In the OG game, you would press one button and press the crystal in. Here, you need to work in a sequence, and at one point, one of the cables fall out that you have to put back in. That is, I guess, most likely a reference to how the cables fall out in Half-Life 2, you know, in the Kleiner teleporter sequence. Again, great little nod to the source material, a very unique way to connect the two games together. Unforeseen consequences. This chapter greatly changes the atmosphere by making the light much more atmospheric. Of course, a major incident occurred, so the Sector C labs faced major damage, and a lot of lighting was knocked out. This results in a very moody atmosphere throughout this chapter. What I liked about this rendition of the chapter is that a lot of the normal routes are blocked, so you have to jump around the place to find a way through, and these lasers pose an actual threat this time around since a lot more of them are in different places. Then we get our first weapon, the classic crowbar. The animations have been updated, and now we even have an alt attack, which is basically like the Op4 wrenches heavy attack, and I like how it pushes back the monsters when you hit them. Another neat little touch is that the headcrab zombies work like Half-Life 2 now. Like, you can kill the zombie, but if you don't hit it on the head crab will jump at you. The main thing about this chapter is that now it's not just like a filler chapter as most people would treat it as. In the OG game, you could literally finish this whole sequence in a few minutes, avoid a lot of things in your way, but here, it's a totally different story. Like I said in the beginning, the chapter has been lengthened, so it is quite the journey from the test chamber to the next chapter. Also, at this point I have to mention I increased my FOV to 110 in the game, so the footage might look a little different. I wasn't aware I was playing on a low FOV before. Anyway, this part where the hound eyes get introduced. All I can say is, man, this is beautiful. A tear came from my eye when I played this. That's how great this all looks. It's literally my childhood redone, remade in the best way possible. The theme has changed now. Before it was science labs and equipment, now it's more of a maintenance area or a storage type area. Most of the layout works the same as before, but the new sections in between add depth to the place. It makes Black Mesa feel large, you know? And the exact thing I love about this is that while it is much longer than the OG games version, it does not feel boring at all. There's always something small going on, like a busted pipe or a visual effect or anything like that that keeps me engaged. That's something I feel some people miss in their games or mods. Copy-pasting the same thing for multiple rooms and hallways feels like a lot of padding. Here, what the developers did is that they made each room and section of this chapter stand out with landmarks or unique textures. It can be a room with lean on the floor, or a room with this machine in it, lighting that's slightly different, and overall just generally make everything stand out. I know that feels like a very ridiculous statement. It's like asking a depressed person to be happy, but in this case, I'm saying that handcrafting rooms and halls, breaking away from a template and adding some small unique tidbits can go a long way. Next is that classic lift that takes us down. In the OG game, it was a lever that we operated and down we go. Here, we need to head back into the control room and flip the switch, and it makes sense. For operating a giant machine like this, you wouldn't just have a lever out in the open, you would have a control room of sorts to handle and operate it. Also, they blocked out the sides, so you can't skip this part. There was also this dude here. He waves to us and runs inside the room, but by the time I reached him, he was already dead. That was very sad. Now, while I don't want to make comparisons with Black Mesa, I do want to propose that this is the closest we'll get to a proper remake. At least a middle ground for it, since it still runs on the Gold Source engine. I think this will be the perfect game for people who don't really like Black Mesa. I personally love BM, but it's understandable why some people don't really like it. Extended can be that middle ground where it's an amazing overhaul with a buttload of new content, all the while it keeps the feel of the game same as Valve did in the OG game. To put it simply, I feel like this would be Half-Life 1 if Valve spent 2 or 3 more years developing it. Yeah, I'm implying that this is as good as Valve would do it, if not better than them, and that's the highest level of praise I can give to a fan-made project. Also in this section, I got a lot of Half-Life Alpha vibes, specifically Alpha, but how that mod Absolute Zero presented it. Not sure if it was intentional, but if you remember the Alpha build, it had this mechanical, industrial, rough and dirty sort of feel in some parts of it. That's the type of feel I got here, and honestly, I'm not complaining. I genuinely love it. Though we will be seeing more of that alpha influence later on too. Before I forget, I also want to mention the bull squid. While they work the same as before, they now shoot 3 projectiles instead of 1. This makes them dodging a little challenging. That's nice. Office Complex. By far, this was my most favorite redone chapter in the game. The sheer amount of dark and gritty atmosphere it presents is fantastic. The way it shows that something terrible happened here is so nicely done. Dead bodies, papers on the floor, broken doors and windows, all the while you're going through this place as it is dimly lit by cold lights emitting from the computer screens and the hallways that are kept alight by the warm bulbs. Just amazing stuff, man. Also, this spooky thing happened which honestly got me. There's definitely somebody standing over there, but when I got to the other side, it vanished. Spooky. Like how they made Sector C labs into an actual lab, well, they turned Office Complex into an actual office complex. Cubicles, meeting rooms, dedicated offices, and a whole lot more. I mean, just look at this, man. Now we get to this dude who gives us access to the back room. Here I found a mouse. I call him Jerry. And here we also find the shotgun, but that's not as important as the mouse. I also appreciate them not overhauling the weapon models that much. They all look very identical to the OG versions, but they are touched up a little. That was one major drawback I felt in another similar mod called Enriched, where they completely changed the weapon models. Anyway, here's that classic drowned office room. I like how they re-implemented that software mode water effect from the original game. No idea why Valve disabled it for the OpenGL mode. Another cool ass place was this giant ventilation area. It's not that important to the story or anything, I just really like how it felt being here. Then we meet a couple of guards stranded in this room here. They can't move forward because of the turrets that's shooting everything that moves. Of course, I was supposed to use cover and move cleverly, instead I just raw-dogged it.
Hey listen, we need your help. There's 2 turrets outside and the panel over here is not working. Someone cut the safe mode of the turrets, and these things are killing everything that moves.
That place where we fight a dozen or so Wardigons completely looked different. Here it's a library that we're fighting through, so you got a bunch of bookcases, pillars, arcs, and a very unique kind of geometry in the map. Also, this place is literally inspired by a cut location from the alpha, and if you haven't noticed, those claw marks on the painting. And one of the guards also says there's something lurking around. I wonder what it could be. Anyway, from here we move towards the upper part of the office complex, and there's the Panther Eye. Yeah, that's what I was hinting towards earlier. But man, this is so cool. I love it when mods bring back cut enemies like this. The Panther Eye's main attack is that it lunges towards you. It isn't that hard to fight, but still, a pleasant surprise to see it in the game. I also liked the sound effects they used for it. Next is that freezer area. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of it in the OG game, and I wasn't that much moved by it here either. You get to fight 2 more panthers here, and the overall place is overhauled like literally everything else. But yeah, pretty good stuff. Next I got to that elevator part where we have to jump across the chasm to grab hold of a ladder. Here I found the wrench, which was a nice surprise. You can only have 1 melee weapon at a time, so I swapped the crowbar for it. I also noticed that some items are also inspired or remade based on the alpha cut content. Again, very faithful to the source material. Now here's the actual library itself. Here's what I was talking about when I just said just add in more places in the game. In the original game, I never imagined a library to be in Black Mesa, but after seeing this here, it makes total sense. We've got Hostiles, the last playable chapter in the demo. A lot of turret triggering lasers, a lot of trip mines, and of course, we get to fight the HECU as well. Like the OG game, it has a very heavy emphasis on its warehouse visuals, but then there's a whole lot of unique places too, like this one with the dead bodies, that is not grim at all. This is a very action-heavy chapter as expected. Like the OG, we still have the encounters we always have with the HECU, but then there are sequences like them breaking through locked doors or just surprising you out of nowhere. I also saw this zombine-like headcrab zombie that just pulled a pin on a grenade and started running. What a madman, Lamau! While I didn't like this as much as I liked Office Complex, I still had a lot of fun going through it. The variety on the places and how they look wasn't as much as the previous chapters, but it still did a pretty good job on this. Fighting the HECU against the backdrop of very nicely detailed maps was a very fun experience. I also really liked the outside area too. I don't know if they added in 3D skyboxes or not, but the 3D mountains in the back were nice to see, plus the area itself was also expanded a little. Rather than just coming out from the elevator and jumping into the bunker, we actually need to find the bunker to jump into. Then there's snipers in the towers, mortar strikes and whatnot. Then after that, it's the usual. Go back down to that control room that we see at the start of the chapter, and that's Half-Life Extended. At least for now, since this is the first demo. Man, that was one hell of an experience. I mean, at its core, it's commendable how much they stuck to the source material, how much they made it as if Valve would make it. The sheer amount of detail this mod has is impeccable. I know for all the mods I showcase here, I always sing praise of them, but believe me, this one genuinely deserves it. Throughout my 2 playthroughs, I didn't come across anything negative. Slight visual bugs with the NPC models in 2 or 3 cases, but that's it. The only somewhat negative feedback I might have is that the amount of medkits in the maps are pretty scarce. You might have noticed in some of the clips I showed that I was low on health or close to death, so finding a medkit in the maps was a pretty big deal. But overall, I say this is one of those very rare mods that I would classify as a masterclass in game design. The way the maps flow, the enemy encounters are designed, the visuals look, and it's all just near perfect. And that's because it did one thing very well, and that is capturing the very essence of Half-Life. Without a doubt, give this one a try. Thanks so much for watching, and a big thanks to these benefactors on screen for supporting the channel. I'll see you in the next one.